If you ever ordered something online, then you probably know visuals like this one over here, which shows in what stage your package is in the delivery process. Now, it's a very simple visual, easy to understand, and can be adapted to other processes as well. For example, maybe you want to visualize in what stage somebody is in the recruitment process, or in what stage a potential new client is in the sales funnel. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how to set it up. Welcome to How to Power BI. My name is Bas, and if this is the very first time for you visiting this channel, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of my videos in which I share everything I know about Power BI. All right, now let's have a look how we can build a live tracker. Now, I have over here already a simple setup in which we can choose a shipment, and then we can see from where to where that shipment is. And then over here, some key information about that shipment. And what I want to have over here looks like this. All right, and that's what we're going to build. Now, let's start with step one. Now, step one is that we need to build a disconnected table that contains all of the different stages or statuses in your process. Now, over here, we are checking shipments from the moment that an item was ordered until it was delivered. Now, let's have a look at an example table. I'm going to first have a look at the table view. Now over here you see that table, and this table I built just over here with a simple text formula. Now you could also have done it, of course, in Power Query. Now you see, to keep it simple, we only have 4 different statuses: ordered, sent, in delivery, and delivered. Okay, that's it. And we also have an extra column with the sorting order. Now let's switch now to the modeling view, and here you see that the status table has no relationship to the shipment data. Okay, now I'm going to go now to the report view, and let's start building that main visual, the live tracker. Now, it all starts with just a normal native visual, which is a line chart. So over here at the top, choose line chart, and I'm going to put it where I more or less want to have it. So over here, and let's align it with the cards below it. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is from that status table, I would like to have the shipment status on the x-axis. So let's drag it on the x-axis. There you go. Okay, and then we can add a new measure. Now, this first measure is going to be a dummy measure, which will create just a horizontal line. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit and expand this, and I'm going to call this one dummy equals 1. All right, now why a 1? Well, it doesn't matter, it just gives us a base point for this visualization. All right, now that I have this measure, we can add it to the visual, and you see we have a straight flat line. Okay, now all of the other elements I'm going to get rid of. Now let's get started by turning off the title, the x-axis, the y-axis, the secondary y-axis, and then also the titles. So the title on the x-axis can go, the title on the y-axis can also go. All right, now over here for the x-axis though, let's bring it back for a second. I do want to show the different statuses. All right, so that's better. Now, the next thing that I want to have is a little marker there for each one of the 4 stages. So let's go here to markers, turn them on, and let's make them also a little bit bigger. So let's scroll down and put the marker size to 20, which is the biggest size that there is. If I go for 21, you see, it stops me. All right, so that's the biggest size. So now, well, actually, we are already getting close. Now let's just update the color. All right, so I'm going to go here to lines, colors, and then instead of having here pink or purple, I'm going to go here for light gray. All right, so now that we adjusted the formatting, let's also make sure that our stages or statuses show in the right order. Because the right order would be, well, first of all, we order something, then it gets sent, then it's in delivery, and then it's delivered, okay? Now, 2 ways in which we can achieve that. Option number 1 is to go to the shipment status column, and then set the sort by column to the order column, the sort order column that you add to that little table. All right, so that's option 1. However, I've set this table up using over here a calculated table, and therefore there's a circular dependency, so it will not work. This would only work if you, for example, have used Power Query to create a little table. So I need to go for a second option. Now, a second way in which we can change the sorting order would be to take that order column and then add it to the tooltip section. So let's take the line chart, go and open the builds panel, take that order column and drag it onto tooltips. Because now I can go here to the three dots, sort axis. I want to sort it by the sum of order, or the order number basically, and I would like to have it in ascending order. Now, you see, now we have ordered, then sent, then in delivery, and then delivered. Okay, that makes more sense. All right, so now it's time for step 2, which is to fill up that line until that point of where that shipment is in the delivery process. Now, for that first shipment over here, let's go to the data view. And here you see we have that shipment, which has the shipment status sent. All right, so that means it should fill up until here, sent. Now, how can we do that? Well, we can create a second measure that basically figures out where it is in the delivery process. So I'm going to go here to my measure table, new measure. Now let's call this one dummy line highlights. And here we can best work with some variables. Now the first one, there we want to have the status of the selected shipment. All right, so we can say selected and then status. Okay, now you can use a selected value function, which only returns a value when there's only one shipment selected. So selected value is what I want to go for. And I want to have the status, watch out, from the main table, the shipment data table status column. All right, now then I want to have not only the status, but the status number. Now that we don't have it in that main table. So I need to get it from a little status table that I created with a DAX formula, or maybe with Power Query if you find it easier. All right, so I'm going to have over here selected status number, which is equal to, now here we can use a calculate function, and I want to find the max. We can use max over here because we're going to have only one line. And then we want to have status order, which is the number, that sort order number, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we want to have it where the shipment status is equal to, well, what is stored over there. All right, so over here, the selected status. Okay, now then we can close that calculate function. Let me indent this. Let me put this on the next line. And then we can have one more variable for the result. Now, here I want to have a 1 where the status number is below the sort order number, the selected status number of the shipment that we selected. Okay, so I'm going to say if, and then here selected value, and then order. If this is lower than or equal to the selected status number, then I want to have a 1, otherwise a 0. Okay, and then that is then what we can return. Okay, there you go. Now let me indent this as well, and let's try it out. All right, so I'm going to add it to our visualization. So let's select it, and over here we have dummy line highlight, and I'm going to drag it on top of it. Now, that doesn't look exactly what I was hoping for, so let's go back for a second. All right, and then over here, instead of 0, I just want to return blank. Okay, so you can leave that second argument as it is, and over here 1 is fine. However, if you choose a different value for the dummy, and so different than 1, then I would just refer here to that, well, dummy measure from before, which is also 1. Okay, now let's see if that changes things. And that looks much better. All right, so that shipment that's selected over here is in the delivery process. Now let's go to the one that I highlighted before, which should be in the sent stage. Okay, now it's working. Okay, perfect. Now, the next thing is that we need to clean it up a little bit further. For example, that legend there, we don't need. So let's go over here and turn the legend off. Now, what I also would like is to have little check marks there for the ones that are already checked off, right? So to get that, we can make use of the data label. So I'm gonna go here to data labels. Let's turn them on and let's see what that gives us. So over here we have one above and one below, which is, well, the label for both these series. And you see for stage 3, stage 4, these two, we only have that first dummy line, which returns a label. The second one, well, has a blank. Okay, so how can I just return it on top of it? Well, let me go here to series, dummy line highlight. I'm going to turn off. Then I'm going to go to that dummy series. Okay, and now I want to put it on top. So position, above, under, middle is not there. Annoying. Okay, so we need to think of a workaround that lets us take those labels and put them there on top. Now what we could do is add a third line which goes right below it. All right, and then we just say for that line we put the labels on top, right? So above it, and then those will overlap with what is already there. Okay, now let's try this out. So step 3, let's get the check marks in. All right, now I'm going to go over here to metrics. And first of all, I want to have a measure that returns a check mark. So let's make this a little bit bigger. And this is going to be my check mark label. All right, and then in between quotation marks, there we need a check mark. So Windows key, period. And then here we go to symbols. And then we just have to go down the list to look for it. Now for me, it's a recent one. So I just choose it from here and close it. All right, so the checkmark measure is there. Now that measure, that's going to also serve as a dummy, which will show right below what we have. All right, so I'm going to add another measure, and let's call this one also a dummy, and then checkmark position. All right, and that checkmark position, well, should be a little bit lower than 1 because I want to have it below that main line. All right, so what we could do is we could, for example, type in 0.9, or we could type in here 0.9 times whatever the dummy value is, which is in our case also 1. Okay, so this is going to be added now to that main visual. So I'm going to take the dummy for the checkmark positions, and I'm going to add it also to our visualization over there. Now, it looks a little bit messed up. However, we now just have to clean it up a little bit. Now, first of all, let's make it invisible. So I'm going to go here to the line, and I'm going to set the stroke width to 0. Then I'm going to go here to markers, select the series again, checkmark position, and here we want to have the markers off. Okay, so now only the labels are left. Okay, so the next thing is to go then to data labels. Now here we want to have no data labels for the dummy, so I'm going to turn that off. And I only want to have labels for the checkmark position dummy. So here we want to have data labels on, and then here I want to have for the values a custom label. Now that's going to be our checkmark measure. So I'm going to go here to my measure table, choose the measure checkmark label, and now we have check marks everywhere. The next thing is that we need to push it up. All right, so now here there's still a y-axis that does some auto scaling. So I'm going to go here to the y-axis and put the minimum on auto. So that was fine. And the maximum, let's play around with it. Let's put it at 3. All right, looks quite okay, but probably we still need to adjust the data labels a little bit. For example, here, this minimum label offset, if I put that to 0, you can see we position them now a little bit more in the middle. All right, so over here, just play around with this minimum label offset, or you can also go here to the dummy checkmark position, and then, for example, make this a little bit higher so that you have it exactly in the middle of the circle. Okay, now then we probably also want these check marks to be in white. All right, so I'm going to go over here to values. Then for the color, I'm going to choose white. Okay, and at some point along the way, I also got rid of the main line. So I'm going to go here back to lines, and then here dummy. And for the dummy, I do want to have the line. So I'm going to put this one here to 3. And for the dummy line highlight, I also want to have 3. All right, now the hard part for our visual is done. In step 1, we created a disconnected table with all of the different stages and a sort order number for each stage. Now, that makes sure that all of the stages in this visualization are always visible. Now, in step 2, we created then the line chart. We added a dummy measure, which then visualized a horizontal line. And we added markers to visualize each different stage as a circle. Now, in step 3, we then added a highlight measure that highlights the line up to the relevant point for the selected shipment. And then in that last step, we then added the check marks. Now, for the positioning of the check marks, we needed again a new measure to, well, push the check marks up to the circle level. Okay, and that's where we are. Now we just need to clean it up a little bit. For example, I would make this maybe a little bit less high, so I'm going to drag this up. Then I also want to have extra padding, so I go over here to Visual, Size and Style, and then here we have padding, and let's put everything to 0. However, I want to push it up a little bit, so to 20. Now, then the colors, well, here I already went for, well, more bluish theme, right? So I'm gonna go here to the line colors. Now here we can choose the relevant series. So here we can switch to all, then go to dummy line highlight, and I want to have blue, so let's go to more colors. Choose the blue color that you like. All right, that's almost the same. All right, perfect. Now, then we can also do a little bit of rounding for this line chart overall. So I'm going to go here to Size and Style, Visual Border, let's turn it on. Color, I'm going to make white. And then rounded corners, let's put it up a little bit. All right, and then over here, the axis labels, let's make them bold. So I'm going to go here to X-axis. And here I want to have the X-axis in bold, maybe a little bit smaller, just like this. Now on purpose, I left a little bit of extra space above the line, which I can now use to, well, display other KPIs about this shipment. For example, the progress as a percentage, all right? Or maybe the number of estimated days until delivery. Okay, now for that, I already have 2 measures. So for example, here I added a progress measure. Let me open it up. You see over here, I just figure out the selected shipment status, and then on that basis assign a certain percentage. Now, of course, in reality, this logic could be way more complex. However, here I just kept it simple. 25% for the first stage, then 50, 75, and 100. Okay, now let me try to add it over here, which we could do with a normal text box, right? So if we go here to Insert, Text box, and here I want to have something like shipping progress, and then colon, and then I want to have, well, 50%, which will be returned by a measure. So value, and then I want to have the progress measure. So I look here for my progress measure, and it already gives you what would be returned at the moment, 50%, perfect, and name your value. So over here, this is going to be my progress. So here we have our progress value. Okay, save. And that's it. Now I would like to make that value that we have here bold. So let's select it and then Control B to make it bolder. Click there. All right. And then we can make it a little bit smaller. And maybe you don't need the background. So I'm going to turn that off. And then we can just drag and drop it to wherever we like. Okay, now we just have to do it once more, but then also for the estimated delivery days. So over here, again, just another measure that returns the ETA in days. Okay, now I'm going to add another text box, so text box over there. And here we're going to have the estimated delivery time, and then a number, and then days. Okay, now that number is going to be returned by that measure. So over here, instead of a dot, I'm going to click here on value. And here I want to have the estimated delivery time. Well, there it is already. And also here, let's rename it. So estimated delivery time. Okay. Click on save. And again, let's make the number bold. Now then also here, turn the background off. Make it fit exactly that text box. All right. And then we can just drag and drop it wherever we like it to be. And of course, always make sure that it's nicely aligned, meaning that over here, it's nicely aligned with that circle on the right-hand side. So to push it a little bit further to the left. All right, so that text box is more or less aligned there with that circle below it on the right-hand side. And the same here for the shipping progress. It's nicely aligned on the left. Now we just have to make sure that that text box and the first one are also aligned from the top. So I'm going to go here to View and then open the selection pane, which we can just also do now with these buttons on the right. And then here these two text boxes were added last. So I'm going to select them, Format, Align, Top. All right, that's it. This is our live tracking visualization, which is basically just a line chart with a few tricks applied to it to make it look like this. Now, let's see it in action once more. I'm going to click over here on the drop-down, choose a different shipment, and ta-da, beautiful. Now, let me know your questions and thoughts in the comment section below. I want to thank you for watching. Also, make sure to check out these videos over here and see you in the next one.